A very good evening to all our viewers. Welcome to the webinar on career development, creating a path for employee growth and retention, hosted by S&P Global and the Nutshell Group. I'm Al Karim Hassan, moderator for this session. This session is not a typical lecture on career development, training, succession, or retention. It is about connecting the passion and enthusiasm of not just the onboarders but the entire team. It's about creating possibilities and literally limitless interventions on helping people grow. I would now invite Mujib Zahoor, Managing Director S&P Global, for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Al Kareem, for having me over. And thank you to Nutshell for organizing this webinar on such an important topic. I also want to welcome and thank all my esteemed colleagues who've taken out time to share their insights as speakers and panelists over the next 90 minutes. S&P Global is a premier provider of data, research, insights, analytics around the world. Uh, we have a short video that we would like to play before I proceed. Kashif, if we can play that video, please.
When you look at the surface, just that, the surface, it's when we dive in that discovery begins. Gathering and dissecting data, predicting trends, and projecting risk. Setting aside assumptions and questioning everything, from how we do our work to what our work can do. Down here in the depths, a new world of possibility emerges. Essential intelligence from S&P Global takes you here, providing the data, technology, workflow solutions, and expertise you need to push below the surface and plumb the wonders beneath. Because a better, more prosperous future awaits. It's yours for the seeking. S&P Global. Seek and prosper.
Fantastic. That's what we do. In Pakistan, we've been operational for the last 17 years. And I wanted to share, before we talk about the important topics around career development, talent, and how to engage talent in these very turbulent times post the pandemic, where there are challenges. We're at a unique juncture of challenge and opportunity across various industries. Here's a little bit of a snapshot. I think the slide is slightly misplaced, but you can. I'll help you read through it. Uh, S&P Global in Pakistan has had a very exciting 24-month period over the last 2 years. We've grown rapidly, interacted a lot with the employee and potential employee base in Pakistan, filled positions across a wide variety and diverse portfolio of roles, which I will get into a little bit, and also try to accomplish something which is very close to my heart personally, as well as our team at S&P Global, as well as our strategy globally around creating a diverse, equitable, and inclusive workspace. You see the numbers of where we've done a lot of work in getting women into our roles, whether they are technology roles or otherwise. Um, and then last component the number that I want all of you to keep in mind is around the internal mobility that you see on your bottom right. Uh, we've filled about 1,100 roles in the last 2 years, or hired about 1,100 people in the last 2 years. And out of them, about 35 to 40% have been internal, which speaks to the career development focus that we have at S&P and giving opportunity to our people. Kashif, if we can move to the next slide, please. Uh, just to establish the use case, as I was mentioning earlier, we focus across a wide variety of roles and functions. Whether it is our data collection and research area, whether it is our technology area that works towards developing the products and services and solutions that you heard about in the video, or whether it is the teams that support our products and our clients. I'm not going to go through all of them. You can see up there. We've tried to cover both the specific hard skills as well as soft skills that we interact with across the 1700 or close to 1700 people that we have in Islamabad and the 48,000 or so people that we have globally. If we can move forward, please. I want to spend a little bit of time on sharing a little bit from the S&P Global Talent Development Strategy. We spend a lot of time and energy on creating a cohesive and impactful strategy that enables our businesses to deliver on client expectations. It cannot be something that is done on the side and is as a nice to have. It has to be an integrated strategy with the business, integrated with client needs. Only then it can get you. We feel it can get us the success, and we feel the success that I was trying to share earlier in the form of numbers that it has accomplished for us. Three sort of components, broadly speaking, of our strategy. One we call Edge. Edge is a platform, as an enterprise-wide solution that we use, internally developed for all sorts of developmental resources and activities for all our employees globally. Our colleagues in Pakistan, our colleagues in all the other offices around the world access this enterprise solution for their developmental needs. All non technical per se developmental needs are served through this. One program I want to specifically talk about, we call it Create. It's a focused program for people leaders as well as aspiring people leaders, people who want to become managers of people, want to lead teams locally and globally. They make use of this program. It offers some industry leading collaborations with global best practices and executive education programs. It also offers some customized uh, programs for S&P Global only that are offered to our colleagues, but a whole toolkit that people can use to develop. The second component is Essential Tech. Essential Tech is our flagship and industry award-winning program on which is aimed at developing technology skills across our enterprise. It is a program that is available not just for people who are from the technology area, but available for people across various segments and functions. Uh, People can access it online. It offers career paths. It offers certifications in various technology skills. It offers tuition reimbursements and again collaborations with industry leading programs such as Salesforce, Oracle Cloud Development, AWS, Azure, etc. as well. Uh, Very high uptake on this, and this is a key contributor to the 40% internal mobility number that I was trying to share earlier. And then lastly, a platform through which all of this is delivered. We use this platform called Learning Exchange. This is sort of a tool that employees can use and our colleagues can use to track how they're doing on their personal development journey. The investment that this has made is all tied in, obviously, at the performance management level as well, where career development plans and performance conversations are encouraged. But I felt it was important to share and showcase some of these elements that form for an organization like ours. A very fundamental component of our talent development, career development, and engagement strategy. If we can move on, Kashif, very quickly. I'm not, this is just up there. I'm sure my esteemed colleagues in the panel that's coming up are going to talk about a lot of these things. Uh, but I just wanted to put them up there. Some best practices that we've seen come up. People who have been successful in developing their careers in various segments and areas, what do they say worked for them? And this is a sort of a collection of that. The only one thing I want to speak about, perhaps on all of this, is the last one, which is advocating for yourself. I think the number one thing I've hear in a local construct is, uh, जी मेरे मैनेजर ने तो मेरी डेवलपमेंट के लिए कुछ किया ही नहीं, मेरी कंपनी ने मेरी डेवलपमेंट के लिए कुछ नहीं किया. uh, I think the time and world where that was applicable has come and gone. The organization and the leadership is responsible to create the environment, is responsible to create the resources and provide the opportunity. What an individual does with them is up to that individual. And be an advocate of your work, highlight your initiatives, highlight your projects, your successes. That's something uh, that will help in opening up more opportunities for people. We are very excited about the opportunity that we have in front of us. We are continuing to focus on developing our people. A lot of skill sets that we hire for are not just available in Pakistan, because what we do is not very commonly done in Pakistan. None of our competitors operate here. So it becomes even more critical, and hence the request to have a discussion on this today, which I'm very thankful for everyone for taking the time for to do, is how can we create these skill sets, because the opportunities are there. The opportunities are far more, as opposed to what we see around us, and what there's a gap clearly, which we in the industry will need to take steps to fill. So I hope that there is some conversation on that. With that, once again, I would like to thank everyone who's tuned in, listening into this. I would like to thank Nutshell for putting this together, and I would like to really thank all my colleagues who have taken time out of their busy schedules in Ramzan to share some of their professional insights with us. I look forward to learning from you and taking some of those learnings and putting them into practice. Kashif, if we can play the closing video, please, and then I'll turn it over to Al-Karim.
You. Seeking, uncovering, sharing. Fueling your curiosity. Surrounded by like-minded people from around the planet. The people of S&P Global. Us. Bringing transparency and clarity to an ever-changing economic landscape. An ever-changing world. Mining. Analyzing. And applying unrivaled intelligence in ways that can deliver oversized impact to individuals, businesses, and governments. You with us, a welcome addition to a diverse and inclusive culture engaging in the world's biggest challenges. Connected by integrity, discovery, and partnership. Accelerating progress. Learning, growing, shaping. Making a difference and creating a more prosperous future. S&P Global. Seek and prosper.
Thank you so much, Mujib. Right, and I really love that the curious mindset. I think they are the ones who actually advocate for themselves, because it shows their determination that they have that passion, that will to develop themselves and grow within the organizations. So with this, thank you once again, Mujib. The purpose of this session, hosted by S&P and the Nutshell Group, is to reach out to all professionals to take advantage from the discussion, where everyone is encouraged to reflect upon and get inspiration from the initiatives shared by the speakers for their for infusing the concept of career development with newer ideas or an aha moment, right? Because I'm pretty sure there will be many wow moments where you will listen to the speakers with their ideas, and it will help you generate more ideas for yourself. So I would now invite Saqib Ahmed, Managing Director, Pakistan, Iraq, and Afghanistan, SAP, to address our viewers.
Thank you very much, Al Karim, and thank you very much, S&P
Welcome.
Global and Netshell for providing this forum as well. I think the topic today, which Mujib also explained a little bit, is very interesting. Career development, especially, and creating a path for employee growth and retention. As mentioned, these are very difficult times. These are very times where we have a lot of opportunity also. I remember when I started my career way back in the 90s, specifically, there was no such point of talking about changing jobs. I remember after 10 years, when the first time I talked to my parents that I'm thinking of changing a job, their feedback was, it's not right. You are disloyal to the company that is providing you the opportunity that at that very point of time. So that was the mindset back in 90s and at the start of this century also, when the people were tend to start a job in a certain organization and they will end the job over 25 to 35 years in the same organization, and they would look forward for the career growth within the same organization. There are different factors at that very point of time. There was no social media, the connection and the opportunity knowledge was very difficult to reach out to the people. It was usually the print media in terms of newspapers where people will go and find out in case of any job opportunities. And then we keep on fast forwarding in the last 20 years. And with all this social media that is coming in from the Facebooks of the world to the Instas and now LinkedIn, a proper professional forum as well. Now the reach of different job opportunities to the people all across the world are very accessible. Now this was not the times way back when we started our careers. And today, when the employee goes in and starts their job, I think they start and looking forward for some of the options in their career progression from the very start. Again, I will say 20 years back, people were looking for only to get in an organization and they were ready to get a job without even thinking that is this something that is something they will require moving forward. Is this the path that they decided way back? Because getting the job was the main criteria to start the earning. Today, when we talk to the young guns of today and to the all across the world, when we talk to the people around, the criteria has completely changed. The youth of today, they want to first understand what is their career path. They want to understand what the company is driving and devising for their future. They want to understand, is this the right technology to go in? They want to understand where they will interact today. What will be their horizontal growth in terms of overall the connectivity they will get in this ecosystem of the complete IT world. That's where they are coming from. And today, the discussion of the career progression is become much more important and employee retention as compared to the previous years. Today, the people are working from offices, people are working from homes. In many of the organizations, the line manager has not met the employee face to face over the period of 2 years. First, it was COVID, now it is the hybrid work form that we are talking about. And overall, there's another phenomena where the people are not necessary to be hired from a certain place. Today, I had a call with a person who just joined the organization and he is working from Australia along with me. And the time zones were totally different. That's the hybrid workforce that we are working today. The cultures are different. The way that we are progressing, the weathers outside our windows are different. The overall phenomena that we have to work with and the person in the right fight frame, that is different. The employee that we today, they know exactly today what they demand from the organization and what they demand from the post. Even today, people have started talking about why do they have to work for a certain organization? Why don't they work out only for different organization on the product-based basis as well? They are talking about why they don't continue with the consultancy services. The youth of today, they really want to understand the career progression. And furthermore, the technology is changing very fast. Gone were the days when there was one expert in one technology and that technology will take him away for the next 25 years in the same organization or in the same field. Today, the technology is changing very fast. Within 3 years, the previous technology has gone and the new technology is coming. The learn, unlearn, and learn phenomena is becoming the talk of the town, and the people and the youth of today, they clearly want to understand which direction they have to go. Retention. When we talk about retention, today it's a challenge. And it's a challenge for next level because the employees, they are more and more into new technologies. They want to see where these organizations are going into that certain direction. The Googles of the world, the Facebooks of the world, the Amazon today, the Microsoft, they all have gone into different direction and they are changing the direction of their companies very fast, starting from Microsoft, where they started from, where we know them for the Windows. Today, they are talking about the data centers. The evolution of these companies is taking very fast, and they are looking for the employees which they can go along and also transform themselves on a very fast pace. This pace has to be matched by the organization and by the employees also. If you see today in Pakistan, majority of the telco organizations, they are not calling them anymore on mobile networks. They are calling them a data networks or data company. If you think today where the whole organization, if you go the production side and every other side, they are talking about coming from SAP, they are all talking about how the backbone of the organizations can work on a certain ERP systems. That's where they are looking forward. They want their employee to be enabled at all possible tools to run in any industry that they are talking about. Today, the employee is expected to know the basics to be have that retention. Now, that retention is coming from both sides. When we talk about retention, retention is that company wants to retain the employee, and then the retention angle is where the employee want to be retained with the company also. And both these are different dimensions. The company today is looking for, to be honest, more flexible people. They are looking for overall the kind of people who can learn about the new technology and ready to learn more about another technology in 1 to 2 years of time. They are talking about flexible working hours. They are talking about people who can work with diverse cultures. They are talking about how they can be part of different multinational, multicultural technical teams and provide their bit back to the organization. They want to retain such employees. And if I see from the employee angle today, they want to retain and to be part of any organization which values them, which provide them the platform to learn more. They are looking for some organizations who are dynamic, who are ready to change themselves based on the overall ecosystem, how it is changing. They are looking for organizations for retention, which have different departments where they can learn. So they can work in a 1 year in one department, then they can go to a different department and learn something more. And then they want to complete themselves in their complete portfolio in terms of delivery, sales, in overall talking about finance. And these are some of the things that the employee wants to learn on a very fast pace. And the other part is that these days, the churn of the people is becoming very, very high. Talk about Pakistan, and Mujib was explaining about the opportunity in Pakistan. The basic challenge in the Pakistan comes from that the people are our real talent that keep on going on to the Middle East, USA, and England. And we need to retain it for Pakistan that these key people should remain over there. One of the major criteria of that one is the salaries to be done in dirhams, reals, dollars, that whatever we talk about. But at the end of the day, we need to also provide such packages and the career growth plan for the people in Pakistan so that our key talent and our brain can stay in Pakistan. And that is really, really important for the retention for the country. So it's not only about retention for the company, it's not only about retention for the employee, it's about retention for this country, Pakistan also, that our key talent can remain over there so that we can take and move forward with this key talent, which can help this country to grow as well. At the end of the day, this country has given us a lot. And it's very important for us that we keep on giving back to this country in terms of the overall ecosystem that we can provide. What we have today is a large number of young people who are just coming out of the universities. If you go around in the Middle East, I can tell you, I always see Pakistanis in the key positions sitting around in these different company offices that I visit in the Middle East. And they are providing the best kind of resources out there. We are very well respected in terms of the output that we give as an employee. We are well respected due to the cultural value and norms that we carry in the Middle East ecosystem also. I think it's very important for us to understand the whole phenomena of career growth and retention. Career growth is that something in the previous world 20 years back, it was the career growth was dependent on the designations that we get. We were engineer, we were senior engineer, we were program manager, then we were sales managers, then we were overall SVP, VP. So usually people used to judge the growth on the designation that we get across in our careers. Today, in today's world, that phenomena is not valid anymore. People are not running about designation. They are more running around what is the possible opportunity of learning that they can be provided. Yes, they want to go up in the career in the different directions that the company provides that career growth, but they are more interested that what are the avenues that they can learn with reference to this new technology that is evolving very fast. That is the career growth that they are looking at. Then I always say there are two types of growth parameter that the people see. One is the vertical growth that we see. We are in grade 1, 2, 3, we are in designation 1, 2, 3, and then there is a horizontal growth. And that horizontal growth is that today we are meeting 10 customers or 10 people, how we can grow our network and meet 50 people, how we can grow our network and make 100 people out there, how we are known to the good set of people where we can learn from them and we can get some new insights as well. We can increase our connectivity and networking also. That is the horizontal growth that employee is also looking at. So we need to make sure that we need to cover in the practical horizontal growth, and also we have to cover on the practical vertical growth as well, how it has to be managed. So I think all these two things are combined together will help in the growth of the employee that we are talking today. And to be very fair, today the employee and sitting in Pakistan, for it's the whole world is open. It's not about the opportunities only in Pakistan. It's about the opportunities that are prevalent all across the world, and we need to sell ourselves in the best possible way all across the world for these opportunities and growth opportunities that we can get for our employees sitting from Pakistan. And for retention, as I said, we need to see from all possible angles. We are talking about employee retention by the employee, we are talking about employee retention by the company, and we are talking about employee retention or the brain retention for this country also. And we need to make sure as true Pakistanis how we can give it back to the system. Either I, in my role, I can provide these opportunities from my company for the people that are present in Pakistan, or I can provide it from my global company for the people sitting in Pakistan. That is something that the people like us who are in the middle career roles has to make sure that we reach out to the people, we reach out to these social media platforms, we reach out through LinkedIn to the people and tell them the kind of opportunity that is not only present in Pakistan, but all across Middle East and Europe as well, so that our best talents can apply for it, can also learn and good money, and also provide the best services that are required over there as well. So in the world of today, this employee retention, employee growth is one of the key factors. And I'm pretty sure the panel coming after me will be going more in detail about this one, which can help the people to give our insight how we can do it in the best possible way. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Saqib. Thanks a lot. And it was amazing, the contrast that we see today compared to what it was 20 years back, when longevity was considered to be, employee being loyal to the organization. And now organizations are pushing their employees, their top talent, to move out to other industries to gain the exposure. So it's all about upskill and reskilling the talent, which will fuel growth and help retain top performers. Thank you so much once again. Before we move on to the highlights of our upcoming panel discussion, I've just been informed, and now see that's the power of analytics. That's how the numbers always amaze us. We have viewers from 11 countries, and across all the three platforms where we are going live right now, we have over 200 viewers currently. So it's great, isn't it? Okay, so coming back to the topic, not all employees will progress up the ladder, nor all performers will stay, right? So this is a very delicate challenge that HR practitioners and business leaders have to manage, and it's on a daily basis. Literally, the talent crisis is very severe. Post pandemic, also there's a lot of impact coming onto the talent management cycle, especially the induction part. And the most recent phenomenon which has taken the world by storm, right? And that's Chat GPT, whether 3 or 4, and other AI-based platforms. And organizations are forced to think that are they prepared for the AI-enabled a bot, right, or a platform which will take care, maybe make decisions in the future, right? Whether it's for your employee growth or development, whether it's for leadership succession, right? So it has created a ripple around the world, and especially within the think tanks of the organization. So this discussion will surely ignite the virtual space today. Okay, So sometimes the best strategies are the simplest ones. Summarizing a few that will steer the dialogue today, organizations can have a plan for everyone. Everyone may not be promoted, but all can grow. That's for sure. Retain, develop, let our people go, all can work. Result based performance climate or just performance measurement, as long as expectations are well defined and jointly set, I don't see an issue at all. And to top it all, the focus has to be on career development and not career confinement. That's very important to comprehend, especially in relation to career development. In short, all interventions have a cost. The board, shareholders, and sometimes even employees ask, does it impact bottom line positively? Well, it's only through a well defined strategy that we can achieve a win win situation here. Our panelists today are marvelous individuals. They have challenged their limits, they have addressed these concerns, and have achieved the remarkable of keeping their stakeholders engaged. Our audience today will be able to comprehend and apply effective approaches from key insights of our distinguished speakers based on their intervention. So let's listen to how they were able to achieve this. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Wasif Rizvi. Wasif Rizvi is the founding president of Habib University, Pakistan's premier liberal arts and science institution. He is an ardent advocate of higher education that provides a student centric, interdisciplinary, and contextually grounded intellectual experience to the youth. Mr. Wasif. Then we have Fatma Asad said. Fatma is an integral member of the top leadership at Abacus Consulting, which is a leading international professional services firm committed by transforming clients by delivering world class technology, consulting, and outsourcing solutions. Thank you, Fatma, for joining us. We have Tanzila Hussain. She's an experienced human resource director with a demonstrated history of working in the non-profit organization management industry, skilled in human resources, organizational development, teamwork, and strategy. Thank you, Tanzila, for joining us. We have Muhammad Rizwan Dalia, Chief People Officer for K Electric, appointed in March 2018. And moving to HR, he had served in senior roles in the finance and corporate affairs function. As Chief People Officer, is responsible for strategic leadership and transformation. Thank you, Rizwan, for joining us. And last but not the least, we have Shahrukh Masood, who's the Group HR Director and Corporate Communications for Martin Dow Group, a results-oriented professional with proven leadership and success in strategy and operations. And he's very much engaged. If I see him, he's continuously empowering his team. He's taking the steps for leadership development at the grassroots level. And it's wonderful to see all the team, the leadership here in our panel actually portray that in their real lives. When I see their Facebook posts and everything, they are all very down to earth, very humble, and I think that's the best quality that we want to see in our leadership. So thank you all for joining us. I would request the panelists, starting from Mr. Wasif Rizvi, to share their thoughts on our topic today. And then we'll move on to Fatma, Tanzila, Mohammed Rizwan, and Shahrukh. Please.
Assalamu alaikum. A big hello to fellow panelists. Um, uh, Thank you to Nutshell and the team, Khas Taur par to educate me very patiently about this StreamYard technology, which took me about half a day to figure out that I have to cut the link and then paste it in the Chrome. That goes to show that the lifelong learning challenge is not just limited to the level of just the joining employers, but the very senior ones as well. So this is just to get going. I'm just going to make one overarching point, and then I would love to hear what my fellow panelists have to contribute on that. Okay, apart from the usual things, which is the work-life balance and appreciation and acknowledgement, definitely growth, opportunities to grow, um, fairness, good communication at the workplace. The cardinal, the fundamental differentiating point that we have come to understand, what ensures employee retention and hopefully their willingness to grow, and engagement, and a good harmonized engagement with the employer, is a sense of shared purpose. So let me share an anecdote. This is from early 1960s. शायद whoever is a history buff उसको याद हो कि Soviet Union was ahead in the space race, और उन्होंने they sent a person in the space, and there was a big crisis, so to speak, in the United States. Kennedy, John F. Kennedy was the president at the time, so he wanted to brand and promote NASA as the competing agency, which is a North American space agency, American agency. And he made a bold claim that by the end of this decade, we will send somebody on the moon. Uske baad, it became a big PR movement in America. And Kennedy very famously visited in 1962 the NASA headquarters in Houston. और उस वक्त रिकॉर्डेड टीवी का ज़माना नहीं था, ज़्यादातर चीज़ें लाइव आ रही थी. So he was touring NASA and the cameras were following him. And when he reached, so he was sort of talking to various people. So he was going through a corridor, और उसने देखा कि एक janitor, an African American gentleman, a janitor, was standing with his mop while he was waiting for the presidential group to pass. So Kennedy stopped there and he started talking to the janitor. और janitor से उसने कहा कि hello young man, what is it that you do here at NASA? And this person has a mop in his hand. And he said very confidently, Mr. President, I am helping put one American on the moon by the end of this decade. Now, this is a great story of owning the shared purpose. So that's why NASA worked hard, and in 1969, they were able to, even many years after Kennedy was killed, they achieved that particular vision. So I think my key point to start this conversation would be that the biggest challenge that, especially for large organizations, is that if they are able to, not in a superficial way, not just as a window dressing, but genuinely, purposefully, profoundly, if they are able to put forward a shared purpose which is understood and owned by the entire organization.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll stop there. Al-Karim, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think I lost you momentarily. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Wasif. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. And I think that the shared purpose is what drives the leadership also when it comes to designing their strategy, especially when it comes to career development and growth of its employees. Thank you so much, Wasif, once again. We'll now have Fatma Asad Said to address the viewers. Fatma, please.
Thank you so much, Kareem, and it is an honor to be part of this esteemed panel. Thank you, Nutshell and S&P Global, for the opportunity as well. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is a very exciting and fascinating and yet uncertain topic, because while one would say that career development is one aspect where companies are working, of course, from a sustainable perspective, to ensure that there is growth, there is relevance, and there is continuity. But at the same time, the ecosystem and the environment or around us is pushing organizations, whether they are for profit or for not for profit, to rethink how the careers are being developed within an organization and what actually remains relevant. And some of the very salient aspects and points that have been raised by the speakers, eminent speakers before me as well, is about relevance and about understanding what is happening at the global level and how is that impacting fundamentally the strategies that organizations are building in order to ensure sustainability. And I feel that there is a great challenge for the leadership at all levels, starting from the board level to the C level, in terms of ensuring that there are opportunities for the human capital within their organization to add value, not only to the organization that they represent, but also in terms of employability for the individual. And that is a very important thought process to keep in mind as careers are rethought in order to add value to the organization and self. The second point related to where we look at technology disruption, we are in the age of AI at this point in time. And some of you have mentioned that how is the environment and decision making being affected because of revolutionary tools and platforms like ChatGPT, like RPAs, robotics, Apigee management, APIs, which are now available, fundamentally how we are living our lives, both on a personal and a professional level. And the third aspect related to that is the generational demographic that exists within an organization. So we look at the external ecosystem. We look at the challenges for an organization, from technology disruption to cybersecurity challenges to the ESG mandate. Climate change is affecting fundamentally how nations are operating, let alone organizations. And that scales back into redefining the purpose of how organizations have structured themselves. What is their vision? What is their mission? And then who are the people and what kind of skill set is required in order to ensure there is continuity in realizing that mission and purpose of the organization. That's a very important factor to keep in mind as strategies are developed for continuity. At the heart of every organization is the human. And while we see technology disruption in an exponential way, there's exponential growth in terms of innovation that is taking place and the obsolescence rate that there is on the technology front. But it is the human factor which will keep, I believe, that the sustainability is through the human factor. And in that, are we prepared to reset for relevance from a skill set perspective? The concept of upskilling and upskilling and reskilling is fundamentally key to business strategies. It is not just an HR priority, it's a business priority where how is the talent developed within an organization. A few years ago, well, even now, there is obviously focus on many corporate leaders and many of us as CEOs, as CHROs, and other business leaders talk about and fundamentally believe that it's about hiring for the right person for the right seat. Absolutely, that is essential. But in this day and age, in the post-COVID world, it is about rethinking how the reskilling is taking place, identifying the relevant competencies which will impact continuity and sustainability for an organization. That does not mean the traditional approaches of just having third party, traditionally training workshops that are taking place where you outsource that particular activity. It's fundamentally engaging the person in terms of saying this is how your career, your employability factor, and the value proposition that organizations are building will be impacted. And this is the internal mechanism from a talent management perspective that your organization is setting in place to further your career. So it's a slight shift that while we're hiring the right person in the right seat, but what happens next? Are we investing enough in terms of ensuring that the upskilling and reskilling is targeting and aligned to the business strategy that is set, and the targets that have been achieved at the C level? And secondly, is fundamentally the impact in the age of AI being considered as the employability factor is being impacted or driven by the organization. So it is a challenging and complex situation that we have right now. More the reason for the organization to be agile. And agility does not only mean a lean organization structure. Agility fundamentally means that the processes and the systems within an organization have to be realigned and rethought. So that rethink of how an organization should be operating from a collaborative perspective, more horizontal rather than vertical mechanisms in place, will enable greater opportunities for people who are working there. For example, typically where there was a vertical reporting line in terms of silos or functional based teams, is there collaboration that is cross functional? Two, the task force or the working groups or the teams that are put into place have to give the opportunity and exposure to individuals in all areas of the organization. It's not just a rotational mechanism, but it is also dovetailed into their performance management system. It's dovetailed into the KPIs that are set by virtue of saying we have cross-functional teams which are enabling not only the organization but also the careers of the individuals who are within an organization. And I believe that this is fundamentally putting pressure on business leaders to look at taking care of individuals from a well-being perspective, as well as being cognizant of the fact that it is no longer the concept of long-term employment or lifetime employment is a thing of the past, as we all know. We also have to recognize the demographic shift that is taking place. 5 generations in an organization, from baby boomers to the millennials, and then the next generation, which has entered into the workforce. Just the mindset and the purpose of what they serve as well. Are we ready to harness the skill set and the knowledge base and the capability of each generation as well, as we create greater opportunities for employees within the organization? So, in a nutshell, what we're talking about is not only preparing for a technologically disrupted world, but also preparing for the different mindsets that each generation and thought process that each generation has, and how they are viewing their careers. And they would like to put employability and purpose at the forefront. Is that aligned with the purpose of the organization? So what are business leaders really thinking about? They have to think beyond the right person for the right in the right seat. They have to think beyond just upskilling and reskilling. They have to fundamentally invest in ensuring that what are the skill set that are required 3 to 5 years down the road. How do we ensure that there are pathways that are built, especially for the critical positions where there is high risk, where there's a scarcity of supply of that particular skill set or competency? Two, how do organizations at a business level retain and transfer this knowledge? from more experienced workers in order to mitigate the risk that may be there when people step out and they work in other organizations. Even though the mobility may be high, it's all well connected. There is strategically collaboration and partnerships that are spearheading the change that is taking place. So you see that in Pakistan as well, where you see not only large or scale organization rethinking the way they are managing talent or developing talent, but the startup culture and the freelance culture, which is pushing organizations to fundamentally change the way they are employing as well, and they're building careers and perhaps enabling mobility as well. So it is not enough anymore to have a quantitative workforce planning. It is much more important from a business standpoint to look at a skill based model in order to ensure continuity. So these are some of my initial thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank, thank you so much, Fatma. Thank you so much. Especially, that the purpose leads to building the ecosystem, and sustainability is because of the human factor. We would move on to Tanzila. Please share your thoughts. 3 to 4 minutes,
Thank
please.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. I'm conscious of time. Thank you, Al-Kareem. And thank you to Nutshell and S&P for giving me this opportunity. It was quite interesting to hear thoughts from Wasif and Fatima, and also before that, Saqib, about generally the world around us, and the way that technology is impacting the pace of change within organizations. I just want to make 3 points fundamentally about career progression in today's world. One is, I just want to pick up on what Wasif said, and he talked about values of an organization, and I really, really, truly believe in that. The shared purpose and the values. Why do individuals choose certain organizations for careers? And if I look at myself, I share my example, I joined the British Council, and I'm not going to say how many years ago, but when I joined the British Council, I had come from organizations where I had only worked maximum for 1 year, and then I wanted to move on. But at the British Council, I found I was able to develop a career for myself fundamentally because my personal value set fit in with the value set of the organization. And I think that is still very, very much relevant in today's world where, despite the fact that technology is rapidly changing, evolving, is playing a very significant role in our personal and professional lives, having a shared set of values still holds great importance and relevance. So I think organizations still need to invest in creating a culture that allows people to develop, but also a culture that is fit for purpose, that helps them achieve their business strategy, but is also fit for purpose with the changing eco landscape around us. The second thing I want to talk about is, if today we talk about talent and recruiting talent and getting the right skill set, I'm sure many of you will agree with me that the war for talent is on. We still struggle to find the right skill sets. So, despite the fact, like I said, that there are more opportunities now, there's more access to job opportunities. People can upload their CVs on LinkedIn. There are other forums through which we can attract and recruit people. It is still quite a challenge to find the right skill set. And I think this is, again, while I'm not going to get into the debate about, the sort of issues with our education infrastructure and our skills development infrastructure, that's definitely an issue. But I think the onus is now on the organization to really think about how they harness potential talent and they invest in developing their skills. So I know other colleagues have made this point before as well, but I just want to highlight it from the perspective that the war for talent is still on, and therefore it becomes even more imperative for organizations to develop and upskilling colleagues and actually right skilling colleagues for the roles. And the third thing I want to emphasize is organizational structures. Now, if you pick up an organogram from organizations in the industrial revolution, and you look at an organogram of an organization today, hardly any difference. It's the same set of lines, hierarchical lines that you will see. And I think that this is where organizations have to really rethink. I think the board has to really rethink. I think your leadership has to really rethink, is this really now sustainable? So we need to start looking at our organizational structures that enable career development and progression in a far more flexible, okay, far more flexible way than perhaps what it was in the past. So while we talk a lot, about agility and flexibility, but the reality is we have not yet made adjustments in our organizational structures to support this kind of movement. I fundamentally believe that we no longer have a career ladder; it's a career lattice. Okay, so people will move left, right, center, up and down. It's a bit like that, sort of snakes and ladders game where you will move laterally, vertically, up, down. It's a lattice. It's no longer a ladder where you either move up or down. And I think that is where the challenge for organizations rest. So I'll rest my views at that because I think other panelists will also want to share their views.
Thank you so much, Tanzila, and very, very crisp. It has to be value in careers, right? And we need to invest in culture which is fit for everybody. And most importantly, organizations need to think that they cannot link organogram anymore with the succession planning or career development for retaining the top performers. We now move on to Mr. Muhammad Rizwan. Please, sir, for your kind thoughts.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and Assalamu alaikum all. Thank you, Nutshell and S&P, for this opportunity. A very important topic, I would say, and as Fatma mentioned, uncertain as well. And I'm glad that Vasu Saab mentioned that analogy, the Kennedy story, and about the mopper. And that also reminds me of an old Harvard study, which actually says that there are 3 P's which are important for employee retention and motivation, and they call them play, purpose, and potential. So play, do you enjoy your work? Purpose is clear to you, and again there is enough element of growth available in your career. So what I would like to emphasize a few things which practically we have seen over the years and at corporates like K Electric, is that whatever we talk about in terms of career development, giving people the right kind of opportunities internally. But at the end of the day, for having a sustainable model, it always comes to the fact that whether that career development for an individual is actually working for the organization as well, and whether the organization itself is also benefiting from it. If that doesn't happen and these 2 things do not match together, then obviously there is a mismatch, there is a gap, and you do not get an ROI, obviously, from the career development opportunities that you are giving people and the investment you are making on the people. So one thing that we have been working at KE and that has been beneficial to us as well as the individuals is that we are trying to make the career opportunities more and more related to whatever our succession challenges are. And in that way, it has become pretty much very clear to the individual as well. The communications have become very, very crisp, that they have to be shown the kind of direction or path that they will be most probably taking in their careers. So if we have a good match between our succession of critical positions and the career opportunities that you want to give to the individuals, then it's a win-win situation for both. And at the end of the day, there is more and more direction to the individual as well as the company. I would again touch upon something that Al Kareem mentioned about whether you plan this for each and every person in the organization. No, for having a sustainable thing, you do not have to plan it for every other individual in the company. There are people who go through linear progression and they take their time in the organization to grow, but you have to identify those people, those critical people, those talent through some mechanism within your organization who are important for your future, and then you map them across your succession challenges. And when you do that, it really helps you out in having a sustainable model for future growth for not only the company as well as employees. One more thing that I have seen over the career, and I am also myself a long timer, uh, almost 5 years at PwC, then 7 years at PSO, and now 15 years at K Electric. So may appear to be a very loyal employee in terms of my career. However, I would certainly feel and want to mention it now, is that the kind of line managers I got. So whatever we do macro at the macro level, at the end of the day, the ball is dropped at the line managers level. So it's very, very important, and that is something that I've observed over the years, is to have those kind of line managers and work on those competencies that develop line managers to enable them to enable people under them to grow. So not only that individual is important, the main link is the line manager. And if that puzzle is solved by any corporate, any organization, I would say that is something that is to work on, and for sustaining those critical people, the talent in your organization, and making them grow, and having the right kind of communication with them for their future clarity and growth. So this is something for now, and then if there are any further questions, I'll be most happy to contribute further. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohammad Rizwan. Thanks a lot. To recap on your thoughts, monitoring the development impact. So many organizations, they go for the career development of employees. They have the individual development plans, but it's very important to monitor all of them. And certain organizations, they ensure that it's linked to the critical positions, right? And that's where the succession development also takes place following the development of the individuals. And as I earlier mentioned in my thoughts, that not everyone can be promoted, but all can grow. So even when these critical positions are being developed, once they are being developed, the impact of their learning passes downwards to their subordinates or to their peer levels. So that's how it enables everybody to grow in the organization. Thank you once again, and we move on to Shahrukh Masood for his valuable input.
Thank you, Al Kareem. And some great conversation in the last hour or so, starting from Mujib, Saqib, and then the esteemed panelists. Thank you very much for creating this platform, Nutshell and S&P Global. Few things which I wanted to share have already been shared by our colleagues at the panel, so I won't be touching on those. But since it's time where we are sharing some stories, something comes to my mind as well. 15 years ago, I joined a multinational, fast-moving consumer good company, and I remember that when we were looking at the career paths, actually, it used to be a 12 to 14 years career path for a management trainee to join, and then a very structured, 5 to 6 roles on an average 2 to 3 years, and moving between sales, marketing, trade marketing, and performing and taking the next roles, which was more performance plus time driven, and moving up the hierarchy. And young students can see that, okay, joining today as a trainee, I can be a sales director or a marketing director or a trade marketing head in next 12 to 13 years, which was at that point in time probably very creative, very attractive, and they would love to see such thing for the clarity. Things have changed completely, as Fatma also said, and other panelists also. In this time now, 15 years down, we see the innovation, the technology advancement, the rapid changes overall, and this has also changed the thought process of today's generation. Of course, they do not see and they don't want to see, what will happen with them in next 10, 12, 15 years. This is the generation which wants to see immediate reaction. They want to see immediate results, and for them the most important thing in today's time is the environment, and the environment where they feel safe, where they feel valued, they feel appreciated and heard, and also where they can bring their skills into action, where they can utilize what they have learned, where they have that autonomy, where they have that flexibility to share their viewpoint from the very beginning. So I think overall career development would involve these things, plus how they, how the enrichment comes in, how the retention happens. As a rotation, for example, is very important. Earlier, 2, 3, 4 years, we can wait for, to move to the next level and learn. But now I think it's not possible that everyone moves, as Al Kareem was also saying earlier. But to enhance competencies, the exposure is important. 360-degree rotation and exposure will give that environment, will give that learning opportunities where people would still feel that they are growing, they are learning, and they might not be climbing the hierarchy. So I think growth is what and where. So, and development is the how part. So I think it is really important that we create that environment for people, and I completely agree with Al Kareem on his earlier viewpoint that not everybody can be promoted, but everybody can get the opportunity to grow, and that growth can come from a few suggestions mentioned earlier. Uh, there was a question, I think, by Mujib in his end part where he said how to create this skill set as opportunities are there. And I just wanted to share that in this, yes, on one hand, we are out there looking for the people, and on the other hand, there are n number of people, talent existing who are unable to get the right jobs. And I would say here that, and Al Kareem also asked this, what are those competencies which we see for people when we talk about the succession, the development, and and I, of course, in my list, leading would be the vision, the shared vision which we talked about, and Wasif Saab spoke about it. But apart from that, a mindset of a continuous learning is definitely very important, which also helps in the adaptability and the proactive approach, and how also the people take the feedback. So I think a few of these competencies, which are really important for any organization, regardless of the skills. Yes, people do enter the corporate world with these skills, but these competencies are those which make them or differentiate them from others and help them to grow in their career. So these are few thoughts from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shahrukh. Thanks a lot. And to recap, definitely information in the innovation in information technology, right? Because of the disruption that happens place, it also helps the intellect grow further. The human mindset is prepared in a manner which takes on more challenges, and that's what leads up to speeding up even the career development. So the expectations of employees have also changed over a period of time. It has become very fast paced. So what they were looking for a career path of 10, 12 years, now they want it in 3 to 5 years, right? So
Exactly.
thank you so much for sharing that. We'll move on to the Q&A session. And to all our viewers, if you have any questions, this is the moment. You can start posting your questions. Our teams are waiting to review, and then they'll forward it to me so we can start directing the questions to our panelists. Okay, so my first question is to Mr. Mohammad Rizwan. That we cannot promote everyone, we cannot retain everyone. Okay, and as people officer at K Electric, and based on your prior experience also, how have you managed this delicate balance in your approach?
Yeah. So thank you, Alkari. We have got a two-prong approach at KE, and so in order to address this challenge, we work on the whole population in a different manner. We have tried to create a segregation or a differentiation whereby we have the identified potential in our organization, and that we identify through assessment centers. In addition, whatever we get from our management trainees or trainee engineers, that is one pool that we also take more care about. So these are the two major pools that we work closely with in terms of their career development. And as I mentioned earlier, trying to map them across the organization in different kind of critical roles, so that to provide them the right kind of clarity. And also at the end of the day, the organization has to benefit as they grow in their roles. Other than that, the rest of the population, yes, they are there, and there are different policies and different other opportunities to get them to where they want in their lives. And at every 2 3 years, the talent window opens again. So if somebody has missed out in some talent assessment, and in the next couple of years he or she has grown that competency and want to become part of that talent group, they can again compete based on their performance and come into that pool, and have that kind of treatment available to them in their careers. On top of it, how we are trying to retain those, because not the only identification and giving them the right career path is not only important. Giving them the right kind of line managers, as I said again, and the reward structure. So we maintain a different reward structure for them as well, so that we can cater to their financial needs as well. Because once somebody is a talent and they are given different kind of better opportunities to grow in the organization, their market value increases as well. And these days, it's an era of advertisement. So I've seen people even mentioning their talent potential on their LinkedIn profiles. So that also increases their marketability. But at the same point in time, that is a challenge for us as well in retaining them. But creating a different set of reward structure for them, we are trying our best to retain them. At the end of the day, I would want to mention that even if you have treated your talent, your good people well, I see a number of people, they go out, they develop or gain experience of a different environment. And a number of them, I'm personally witness to a number of them, at least at KE, who rejoin as well. And we, at the end of the day, benefit from a different experience that they've been able to get in the market.
Thank you so much, Rizwan. Thanks a lot. The next question I have is for Mr. Wasif Rizvi. Uh, Most organizations have their career development and succession mapped around the organogram or the hierarchy which they have in the respective organizations. Especially within the academics, we see this very much structured. So have you found this to be effective?
No, actually, academia functions somewhat differently, right? So there is an intellectual and academic path to grow, which is very well established and generally seen as meritorious. And then there is an administrative side, right? So the uh, academic path is somewhat flat. So there are 3 steps from assistant to associate to a full professor. And as I shared earlier, the idea of purpose and the larger vision basically acts as the motivator and the driver. One other observation is that universities are the longest surviving institutions. Let's say the longest surviving employers. They have been around for 1,000 years, in their current form at least 400-500 years. So there is something to recommend it, right? So um, there are certain aspects within academia which I think are interesting for corporate, for other workplaces to learn. One of the things that have been very readily copied by the large tech companies that everybody knows, that they no longer call themselves offices, they call themselves campuses. So there's a Google campus and there's a Facebook campus. There's a reason for that, because the idea of a campus communicates a community. It communicates a higher purpose. It communicates inclusion. It communicates diversity. Um, so I think in academia, there are certain practices that are unique to academia. There are certain performative aspects that have been adopted by, in terms of general environment and so on, by corporates. And I do believe that some of it is transportable, some of it is applicable to this larger sensibility. I think Tanzila pointed to an important, that there is such anachronistic, like there's such mismatch between what the world is and how organizations continue or insist on structuring themselves. Um, Universities are in a better place. They have multiple options for young people, for older people, to continue to engage with the organization and continue to feel useful or contributing. So I think that your question is interesting. That how, and I would expand it by suggesting that organizations as large as KE or Martin Dow or S&P and even Nutshell, there is a case to be made that they can learn a thing or two, that how universities have sustained themselves over so long, and they are not necessarily the most lucrative careers in terms of money and rewards, but they continue to do so for last many centuries. And I think that some of those learnings are very applicable, especially in today's world. What Shahrukh was saying, especially the impatience of younger people. So universities also have a, very large population of very young people, not necessarily in an employee role, but definitely in a stakeholder role. So there is much to learn. Um, we talk about university industry partnership, but this is one of the ways in which a partnership can be crafted that has flown under the radar. That how university is as an employer versus other corporations. And there are very clear differences, and I think there are things to be learned.
Right.
Very
Thank
interesting
you so
point,
much.
Vasudha. Definitely, we'd like to take some wisdom on that. So probably we'll connect offline on that.
Right.
Great. We have a question on diversity and inclusion from our viewer Zoya Anwar. And the question is directed to Tanzila and Shahrukh Masood. So, how should an organization address issues of diversity and inclusion in career development programs? Tanzila, please.
Sure. Okay. So I think, diversity and inclusion has to fundamentally be very much integrated into all career development programs. And there are many ways through which you can do that. I mean, I think first and fundamentally, you need to have proper data and metrics to be able to track your diversity and inclusion statistics. So what your gender balance is looking like, what your age demographics are like, what your ethnicity balance is like. So you must, I think, establish those parameters and mechanisms for collating data and measuring that. And then secondly, you need to integrate that into your career development programs by actively looking at sort of where the blockers are. So whatever program or structure that you have for a career, for career progression, you need to put it through an impact assessment, or at the British Council we call it an equality screening and impact assessment, which is basically reviewing it from all angles of where there might be obstacles that prevent certain segments or certain parts of individual or certain types of individuals, or let's say unconsciously discriminate against certain groups of individuals within that program. And then you start to dismantle those barriers, okay? And that helps you develop a program which is inclusive. So I think that. And then I think thirdly, in terms of any career management development program, you also need to start looking at your pipeline. So, while your development program might be focused towards a certain group of people, for example, if you want to develop your senior leadership, you need to also look at the diversity within your talent pipeline, and start to see how you strengthen that talent pipeline so that they become they help you create that diversity within your senior leadership. So that is how I would suggest one does approach it: data, metrics, doing a proper review and equality screening and impact assessment of any program against any discrimination or biases or obstacles or blockers that might exist. And thirdly, start to develop your talent pipeline, and make that more diverse and inclusive so that it feeds into your whatever leadership or let's say next group of level that you want to take these people to.
Right. Thank you, Tanzila. Yes, Shahrukh.
So, interesting question from Zoya. So, I have two things to say very quickly on this. One is that anything which is to do with career development programs are for the talent, and talent could be anyone, right? So for me, it doesn't. I mean, don't even think about that. It is skewed towards a certain group, whatever it is. However, if we are in a beginning stage where we were a couple of years ago, focusing on this thing, so what we then did was, and taking from Tanzila, so I noticed that my bottom of the pyramid was a good 26-27% females, for example, if you're talking about the gender diversity. And on the other hand, when I reached the top, I only had like 3% at the head and the director level. And then I had to take some special initiatives to create an environment where people get this opportunities, where they get this confidence, right? So just to give you an example, we launched a program called Eve, which was very much focused to identifying through a process. So we identified 6 women who could transform and learn and grow into the next levels, reaching that top level. So those were some deliberate efforts to bring them into the mainstream and push that diversity agenda. But otherwise, I would say it has to be transparent, and it has to be purely based on merit. Yeah, thanks.
Great. Okay. The next question is directed to Fatma. Fatma, we have this question here that being in a leadership position and with your interaction with other business leaders, how comfortable have you found them to, integrate the AI-enabled technology? And nowadays, we speaking of this bot and the GP chat and all of that, right? So how comfortable do you see the leadership in accepting this for the business operations?
Well, thank you for the question, and I believe it's very pertinent to what is happening all around us. You see, it is about ensuring that there is a strategic plan for a return on investment to take place. And for a return on investment, you have to have the right components. So business leaders are, of course, consciously accepting the fact that if they have to stay relevant, they have to evolve and adapt to new technologies. And technologies does not mean just AI related or RPAs technologies is the fundamentally the way we are programmed to work as well. So it's sort of an internal reset of how the organization functions. Excuse me. Um, in our experience, and as a technology and outsourcing firm predominantly, we are working at Abacus across the globe. So it's not just Pakistan specific. We have presence across 4 continents. And one of our leading business areas is digital transformation. And there's cloud and emerging technologies. And what we've seen is that there is not only an acceptance, but a commitment to changing the environments and investing in how people are being facilitated because it is an integrated ecosystem that we work in. For example, we talk about e-commerce. Now, e-commerce has integrated fundamentally 3 sectors. You have retail, telecoms, as well as your banking industry, and look at the touch points that are taking place and how it is impacting careers as well. If organizations do not enable this particular investment, then they are shortchanging the human factor within the organizations that reside within these companies as well. The other aspect is a culture shift, which Vasif Saab and also Tanzila mentioned. The culture and the mindset within the organization has to be fundamentally encouraging an innovative approach towards adapting to new technologies as well and emerging technologies. So, business leaders who are focusing on a more progressive, futuristic roadmap are ensuring that this is at the strategy table. It is not an enabling factor from a perspective of a support role from a tech perspective, but with human capital priorities, technology, and addressing anything which is related to a technology, which is also the risk factors of cybersecurity and other elements as well, is firmly one of the strategic priorities. So you do see a very healthy trend. I would like to see more commitment in Pakistan. There are not only multinational companies, but of course the national leading companies recognizing that the sustainable model and the sustainable growth model is to invest in the space of AI, in the space of disruptive technologies and emerging technologies.
Right. Thank you so much, Fatma. Thanks a lot. One last question for all the panelists, right? Very crisp and short. It wouldn't take more than 20 seconds each. What three competencies, right? What three competencies do you look for in any position when you're making a decision to promote that individual? What are those three competencies? Starting from Wasif, please.
I would say curiosity, self-awareness, and understanding of the larger purpose of the organization.
Great. We move on to Fatma.
Okay. Um, Critical thinking, empathy, and
Yeah,
I would also agree with what Vasif Saab has said in terms of understanding self-awareness and purpose of self, I would say.
okay, great, great. Mohammad Rizwan, please.
आप म्यूट
Rizwan,
पर
go.
हैं.
Sorry. So, pardon me for being more KE or corporate specific, but I would say somebody who can drive change, somebody who can manage the stakeholders well, and somebody who has the right kind of mental agility to come up with solutions.
Great. Shahrukh, please.
So definitely, I would add a couple of them and agree to most of the ones said. I would add something: how people respond to feedback. So that's very
Your top
important.
three. Your top three.
My top three would be starting from the vision, the big picture, how the person sees it, responding to the feedback, being proactive, and adaptability.
Great, great. Okay, so I think we had a great session, and if we look at how the topic evolved, it really forms the life cycle of career development, right? It started, when where Mujib mentioned the curious mindset and advocating for oneself. Then we had Saqib, sharing about how the upskilling and reskilling can fuel the growth and retention of our talent, not just in the organization but also for our country, right? Uh, then we saw Wasif speak about the shared purpose. Now, the shared purpose is what has been common so far in the discussion that we have had, right? Because that what drives the career development, and that's what reflects the determination of the individuals also. We saw Fatma, speak about the disruption, right? And how the entire ecosystem plus how the leaders can bring on the continuity based on this disruption. And all of that sustainability is dependent on the human factor, and that's where the leadership comes in to create the right type of alignment. And that's where I think all of you are doing a brilliant job here. We saw Tanzila speak about the value in careers to invest in culture fit and purpose, right? It has to be the right skills for all the colleagues that are within the organization. And we need to rethink about the organogram. And we saw Rizwan speak about, how do we monitor, once we go into the development plan, how do we monitor the impact of it, right? And the succession has to be linked, more importantly, to the critical positions, right? So we do see the trickle down effect of that, but it has to be linked with the critical positions. And then Shahrukh mentioned that how technology and innovation has increased the pace of expectations and also the business deliverables. So decisions are quicker, expectations are faster, and results based on the expectations and targets which link to the performance management has sped up. So I think we've had a great session, many wow moments, and we've gained a lot of inspiration. Uh, I see that we have comments that it's giving people ideas, what they can do in their organizations, right? How they can grow themselves, the purpose part, the determination part. So officially, we would like to conclude the proceedings of this webinar. Thank you all. And don't forget to connect with the organizers, to link with panelists who had such great idea that you wanted more time to chat with them or learn about it, how they've implemented it. So the organizers would be able to, connect with them or pass you on the transcript or the material that you want for your own development and for the development of for the organization. Thank you, S&P, and Nutshell. Thank you, Ashfa, because he's such a beautiful soul, and he has that charm to bring all people from across the world together, right?
Right.
So have a great evening, and
Karim,
as we
very
say in
nicely
Turkish,
moderated, I must say. You have put all of us together in a very, engaging way. So
Absolutely.
thanks for adding that value.
thank you so much, Shah. Thanks a lot,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Have
Pleasure
a
Thank
great
meeting
you. It was
Thank
a
you very
pleasure.
much.
you.
Love this.
Discussion.
in
Bye bye.
Turkish, gule gule. Bye bye.